Here at the Skechers Invitational at the beautiful, the Riviera Country Club, and I told you I'd have surprises for you all day in the booth. Well, I got Callan Johns, one of the best players in the entire world, and then I got one of the best volleyball players in the entire world, and a huge pickleball man, Casey Patterson in the house. Case, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me. This is an epic location. And sitting next to Colin, are you kidding me?
I know, come on.
I've never been nervous before. This is the first time.
So we've got the men on the court now. We had our first sighting of the fast breaker. I hope we get a bunch of those today. That's going to be a lot of fun to see how the players deal with sort of some quick nerve, sudden death to win a match. So to set the scene here, we got a couple of Smiths, and we have one serving the other. This is Spencer Smith serving to Pat Smith. Spencer's playing with A.J. Koller, and Pat Smith, the winter soldier with that sleeve rolled up, is playing with Callan Dawson.
Point.
Yep.
1-0-2.
Yeah, it looked like you got to really wait for the prime opportunity versus creating so much.
And Callan Dawson with that ace of spades, pro Kennex power pop finish.
0-1-1.
Casey, we talk a lot about the technology changes in our sport. Anything from the volleyball perspective that would match the ball changing, or?
Yeah, we just recently, I think Wilson changed the official pro ball like 3 years ago with kind of like this technology that helps you see it better, right? And all different types of light, dusk, dawn, bright sunlight, or cloud cover. You know, I was like the optics. They called it the optics version. It just helped you see the ball more often in different scenarios. But that's about as all we've changed so far, you know, besides doing more push-ups, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that green one, it's easier to see, but it also breaks down faster. Right.
It's a little science fair project for my boys in the booth today, everybody.
A little bit of everything.
I love it. That's what I was counting on. Oh, look at
and
AJ.
A.J. Koller giving us a little bit of everything on the court here. The man likes his lob. So this is quite interesting because the best lobber is going up against the second best lobber, at least in my book.
Yes.
We have Callan Dawson, who puts down dimes on the baseline when he practices his lobs. And we got A.J. Koller, who brought back the third shot lob. So we're going to see who can out-lob the other.
Yeah, and I'm sure Callan is like, okay, you matched my first one, so we're one apiece here so far. All right.
Challenge accepted. That's a nice volley.
Yeah, do you know, Colin, if there's anything going on behind the scenes where they're going $10 a piece, you know, at the end of the match, whoever has the most lobs consecutively in?
I may or may not have information on that. I can't speak to that. I'm sorry.
That was not one motion from AJ either, right there. So yeah, hey. Everything goes at the Invitational here. Obviously, if you're new to watching Callan Dawson play, the grip he uses is very unique. How is that a factor, and what does that do for him, Callan?
Yeah, he likes to choke up on the grip a lot more than most players, almost like a ping pong paddle. So that's going to give you greater control, more maneuverability. So in something like a hands paddle, you're not going to have as much torque, but you're going to have a lot behind it because you have such a strong grip on the paddle, along with his paddle being very powerful. So he's very maneuverable at the body. He's one of the players you really don't want to attack a lot to the body because of that. And then he has great control on his dinks. He doesn't have a lot of penetration on them, but he does have really good control. He keeps them very short and low, nice and soft, sort of like that shot right there. And then it also gives him great maneuverability for something like a lob or that last attack that he flicked at AJ. Where he does give it up a little bit is on his return to serve and overheads. So on something like that, you want a little bit more leverage. So that's something that you can exploit a little bit, but they're not shots that you really hit all that much in a rally. I mean, you're going to hit a return once, and you're going to hit an overhead maybe once in a rally usually.
7-1. No, sir. No recall. 7-1.
Nice quick lead for Pat Smith and Callan Dawson playing very solid out the gate here. Oh, and Pat Smith just punishes a short return there.
Slimy, inside out, just, that was nasty.
And some great action on that. And Pat Smith definitely has one of the best forehand drives in the game, if not the best. He gets such good action on that. And because he's just such a weak guy, such small biceps, I just don't know. I can't imagine how he's getting that much power on the ball, but that might be the paddle.
Okay. Some commotion on the correct server there. So even though they were stopped, so all of that beautiful forehand and goes for naught because of the wrong server. So we're at 7-1-2. There's the heat off the ace of spades. Nice handle of it though.
Nice exchange there.
I'm going to say that paddle is probably so complementary to his grip that it adds so much more of an offensive threat, right? Just a little, even if it's a few percentages, it's just probably helps him confidence-wise too to be a aggressor.
Absolutely. Yep. If he was playing with a paddle that was more control-oriented, he definitely wouldn't be as dangerous in those hand-speed exchanges because he takes very short swings with that grip that he uses, but it's sort of offset by the amount of power he has with his paddle.
Oh,
so
the third shot lob is very short, but
still gets them in.
yeah.
And a very nice counter there by Spencer, who prefers that backhand and didn't hit with a lot of pace, but definitely got it down and got Callan to overhit that next one.
3-7-1.
Nice job by Spencer Smith of filling the middle. Koller left a lob up. Got to dig out your partner's problem sometimes, don't you, Casey?
Yeah, then you got to like say my bad, like, oh, sorry, I set that up wrong, but I finished it for you, so we're good. I call it, as a dad, I call it changing my own diaper.
As long as you bail yourself out there, all is
exactly.
well.
I like AJ's, he's in 2 lobs so far? And as somebody who follows, the weather apps a lot as a beach volleyball player, like what's the wind at, where's the sun, that's for sure the good side for the lob because you got the solar eclipse as soon as you throw it up.
Oh yeah. Definitely have to be aware where the sun is, where the wind's blowing. That really helps your lob game. Not something that I think about a lot because I don't lob a lot, but definitely something Callan and AJ are taking note of.
Yeah, the other thing with Callan is you see he sort of gets down to the side when he's serving and driving the ball. That's because he is a college baseball player and was a sidearm pitcher. So that's the technique he's used to from another sport.
It's a great exchange here. Nice resets.
Oh, and Smith.
Pat gets a
missing.
hold of that one, but drives it a little bit long.
Just a little behind him.
Yep. And a lot of times you do end up making contact with counters behind you when they hit a good jam shot like that. Pat's usually very good at still getting a lot of power on those.
Wow, Spencer, that was insane by him.
And Spencer has good hands in the transition zone, so you'll see a lot of times when those exchanges take place, he'll take a step or two back if he feels like he's losing the rally, and he'll actually retreat all the way to the baseline at times so that he can have a little bit more reaction time to reset, and he's very good at that. Whereas some players like to stay close to the line and just kind of suck up whatever power is coming at them and try to bring it right back at them. but it is a little bit of a higher risk but higher reward.
Yeah, lets him be able to get a little topspin on it, huh? Because he's got a little bit more time and then be able to counter with direction.
Yep. I mean, you're playing with a weightless plastic ball with holes in it, so every step back you take is definitely a lot more reaction time for yourself. It has a lot of drag to it, so if you think like a shuttlecock in badminton, I mean, that thing goes super fast off the racket, but once you move back a little bit, a lot of pace comes off.
Almost stops.
Yeah, so pickleball is not to that extent, but it's similar.
And during the shuttlecock flight discussion, A.J. Koller got to sneak another third shot lob, which was an effective winner.
Let's say it's 1 for 3. That's a good ratio. I'm going to green light him. Hey, dude, just green light that thing.
3-0 pitch, go.
Exactly.
Just tried to overcut that a little bit there.
And it looks like it's really starting to warm up out there, so the ball's starting to be a little bit more mushy, and when you're trying to cut it, sometimes we just die on you. Looks like that's what happened to AJ on that.
Oh,
that's sighting on another lob.
Callan, you're getting just creamed in the lob battle so far. And the many languages of Pat Smith are out and about today.
The German's coming out.
Yes. And his father is in the house today. Had a chat with him beforehand. So that's love when the family of the players can come out and support.
Yes, I had the pleasure of meeting his dad last night at the party, and I can definitely see where he gets his grip strength from.
Yeah, that man will mess up your hand. That's a quality handshake.
It is a quality handshake. He does not jet beyond that.
Probably direct eye contact too, right?
Very much so.
Oh, yeah.
Smart.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, he's not staring off into the horizon. No.
Oh, Callan, that was your chance to even the score there with the lobs.
Yeah. Interesting choice by AJ there, Callan.
Yes, he was thinking lob, and then I think he changed his mind and said, I'm going to use both wrists and roll them over as hard as possible for this one. Left two-hander just way too high for Callan.
Have you noticed, Colin, when you're playing in like intimate stadiums like this, where for me the wind, I just noticed the last match, there's a little bit of a swirl, right? So it's coming in at random corners, and I saw it affect 1 or 2 balls that were hit at a specific speed, maybe not a ton of spin in the last girls match, and they go to attack the ball, and the wind on the way down would catch and affect the ball, and they missed it. Do you guys recognize that or talk about it at all, or is that something that isn't really a conversation?
It's definitely something you have to be aware of, and if you haven't played on a stadium court or something like this, it's sort of for an idea where the wind can actually change directions. So if you're playing on a big stadium court that's sort of like a bowl, it can change so easily, and you have to be aware of that, because you could think it's going right to left, and then it's left to right. So something you have to keep tabs on and know that can happen, because it can be very confusing in the beginning. You're like, I could have sworn the last point the ball blew this direction, but yeah, when you're down in a bowl, sort of like what we're at right now, it can definitely be a factor.
And the bowl is a flight zone for Callan Dawson there, setting them up for a game point here in game 1. There's the sidearm slider. And he was ready for the speed up in the middle, and the ace of spades says enough. Blackjack for Callan Dawson and Pat Smith. So game 1 goes to them in impressive fashion. It's Pat, the victor of the 2 Smiths here. So Spencer's got to see if he can even up the Smith score. We'll be right back with that after this.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 2. Come on now.
As a reminder, all games are win by 1. Game 2, Tommy in 002.
All right, welcome back to game 2, everybody.
Callan and Pat winning the battle in game 1, but AJ Koller winning the law battle with Callan, so I'm sure he's still a little happy.
And Spencer Smith showing those magic hands again. Colin Johns and Casey Patterson, the volleyball superstar, in the booth. Nice finish by Spencer. And Casey, when you have somebody who has a specific trait in volleyball, do you talk about it? You know, when you play AJ, you got lobs coming. What do you do in volleyball that's similar, and how do you get that? Because, you know, it's 2v2 in your sport as well.
Same.
Here.
Right. Yeah, I think we like immediately identify like, hey, what's this team's identity? What are they good at? Okay, the lob, and they're just going to grind us down with dinks, right? Or something like that in beach volleyball. And so we kind of have a game plan to prepare against that, and mentally it's good to have like, hey, we know that's what they do well, so it's not going to surprise us if they do that. So let's not get emotional about it, right? Like, it doesn't affect us. So let's have multiple game plans to try to experiment so that we can kind of, you know, add wrinkles here and there if they get into a rhythm. So it's very similar, I would say, probably to pickleball, where you kind of have a few different lineups and strategies, and then you kind of, you know, they're going to do some things well and accept it and try to battle it off as well as you can.
Yeah, I feel like that's something you do in a lot of different sports, but it's so important, something a lot of players do neglect to do. Another thing that I like to do, even on top of that, and tell me if you do the same thing in volleyball, is sort of create a narrative that you want for the match. So, for example, if AJ and Spence are going into the match, they don't want the narrative to be Callan is crushing counters and lobbing them left and right. They're playing with a lot of energy over there. They don't want that. They want the opposite of that.
Yeah.
They want AJ dominating with his rolls, playing a little bit slower, a little bit more by the book to set up AJ. And that's something I like to go into the match with. I want a narrative that suits us. It may not result in the outcome we want, but it gives us the best chance.
Right, right. Yeah, I think we would have that, and then is on top of that is like, all right, also what can I do as a partner to maximize our team, and how can I help, you know, alleviate any sort of stress that he might feel if their game plan is to play against him. Yeah, layers upon layers, Dave. Come on, come on.
That's why I said I have special guests with special insights. I mean, folks, these people are writing novels before they come out on the court, okay? So if you don't have one of those fancy fountain pens, you better get one. That'll improve half a tenth on your rating, guaranteed. So, but I do think the mental game is part of this that is very underrated. You know, when you go out and play for fun, that's one thing. But when you have the best players in the world, whether it's volleyball, this sport, tennis, anything that requires a partnership, if you aren't in sync and the talent level is pretty close, that's going to be the difference.
Yeah, agree.
Yep, very much so. And it's not always about playing your best game. It's also about playing the best game for your partner. Maybe you're good at something, but it really makes your partner vulnerable. So playing the right shot at the right time against who you're playing against is every bit as important as maximizing your strengths and weaknesses.
Right, right. Get the most out of your guy. You're also complimenting him. That's huge, because then the vibe's good. You keep everybody up and positive.
Yep, and that's something you got to decide ahead of time. I mean, you talked about a little bit the partnerships in volleyball and how it's similar, trying to lock somebody down, but you have to find somebody that plays well with you, not necessarily the best player that's available.
Correct, and that's something a lot of people don't understand. They're like, oh, but he's the gnarliest. It's like, but you don't play well together, and you guys fight a lot, and it's awkward watching.
Yeah, gnarly level, one thing, but I refuse to talk to him while we're playing. Let's move on.
Right, right. Oh, the trickle.
We do replay the Let's here on the PPA at the Skechers Invitational again. This is Christmas Eve, folks. Tomorrow, live on CBS for the first time ever, will be pickleball, and we are excited. And we got Casey right in between us, is one of the guys playing. So it's a big day for pickleball.
2-4-2.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Colin and Ben play together.
Yeah, it'll be the first time Ben and I will have partnered together in a couple months. Ben took a little time off, and he was in Europe. So the last actual tournament we played together was the Atlanta final against Matt and Riley. So we'll get to face them again tomorrow. That'll be a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them more than once the rest of the year. So foreshadowing for the second half of the year.
Yeah, top two seeds have seen quite a bit of each other, and then with the summer break and then some of these unique formats, you played against him more than with your brother here over the last couple of weeks.
Yep, I got one more coming up against him, actually. Not the one after this, but the one after that. I'm up against him again with Annalie Waters, so he's staring down both his usual partners.
That's awesome.
So Casey, when you've had a variety of partners, when you see somebody maybe you've won a big title with that's now on the other side or a blood brother, how's your mentality change with something like that?
You know, I've always identified as somebody that's always played better when I'm like up and happy and kind of chirping back and forth and little inside jokes and stuff like that versus quiet. And I think it almost helps me when I play like an ex-partner because it's like, first of all, my focus is heightened, and then I know kind of what triggers they have, you know. And for me, I kind of pride myself on not getting rattled by that stuff because I love it. It makes me play better. I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, personalities don't really change. You know what does bother or doesn't bother certain people.
Yeah. Which explains your singles win against Ben. You know,
yes.
At the Orchard.
I knew someone would bring that up eventually.
Yes, you were hoping.
I don't know what the overall total was, but I know that I won the last point, so I'll take it.
Yeah. All I know is your paddle was scraping the ceiling of the Orchard on Tuesday night.
But talk about a fun event. That PPA All-Star event held at Jigsaw in that new Orchard studio. That was so much fun and so much energy brought to that match, before the match, after the match. Can't wait to go back there.
Third shot lobber is still, I mean, Callan it's a blowout in the lob game here.
They eventually worked their way in. It's good patience there.
Ooh.
Just as you said that, Koller went for a less patient flick, but
well, patience is definitely not AJ's. It's not the first word that comes to mind when I think of AJ Koller.
But they've got the lead here in game number 2.
But that's part of the reason I selected him as a partner recently for Orange County Cup, and we did quite well together because I would say patience is one of my better attributes, and it balances out between me and AJ. So I want him to go for the shot and be creative, and I'll just be the patient, solid rock, and be in the supporting role. So.
Oof. ATP.
That's a pretty smooth ATP defense there.
Yeah, and the whole ATP situation, it used to be, that's a clean winner, great shot, move on. Now it's just like, okay, you did it, let's get back to the kitchen. It's unbelievable how the evolution of certain shots has changed in the sport.
It's so true, and I mean, a few years ago, people were lucky to get a paddle on it. Now it seems like it's routine when people block it, and not just block it, but block it to a point where they can get back in the point.
Yeah, like a redirect, reset. Yeah, I mean, I'm running drills where I just have guys hitting like 30, 40 balls at me and try to defend it, and like where my positioning needs to be and where I can go kind of reset offense at the same time, you know.
Yeah, a couple tips on that. Something that I always teach is keep your feet inside the court when you're defending ATP.
Don't be a target.
That way, you're not a target, but better than that is you don't hit out balls. So it's really hard to tell when it's coming at you that fast where the ball is going to land.
Right.
And you'll tend to hit out balls if you put any feet outside the court. And then just think like a hockey goalie would. I mean, get really low, get the stick down, in this case your paddle, and it gives you a chance. It's not a guarantee, but it puts you in the right place at the right time. But definitely keeping the feet inside the court's a big one.
Hey, I learned that the hard way.
Well, you got a lot of you to keep inside the court,
yes,
Casey.
A lot of feet.
Real patient point here from the gentleman. And then Pat Smith, sneaky little inside out, using that reach.
Yep.
Not a full bicep flex, just kind of like a little subtle,
subtle flick. Show it.
Yeah.
Just show it.
Yeah. Very pretty misdirect on that one. Pat and Callan showing off the countering power there. That's one team I wouldn't be hitting a lot of third shot drives against. They both counter the drive extremely well.
You know, that's back to your storytelling and narrative. Like, we're going to drop thirds against this team because
exactly.
We're not going to let them, because you feed off that. Plus, the pace of a good counter just makes you feel good because you're taking something the other team might love to do away.
Yeah, if I'm Spencer and AJ, I want this match to be more by the book until we get to the kitchen line. Keep it very boring. I know AJ likes to throw up the occasional third shot lob, so enough to keep him happy. But if they can get up there and get AJ his hands on some rolls and get in the dinking exchanges, I feel like the match favors them more in that scenario. Whereas the other side wants a little bit more chaos, more countering, more firefights, more driving, more Ernies, more dynamic play.
Oh, Spencer, what defense? Wow.
Second serve.
Smith, meaning Spencer Smith, has been on point with his defense and counters and has dug both of them out of a hole a couple of times there. Koller went for yet another lob there and wasn't able to be successful. So there's one of those. AJ doesn't dink two-handed, so you know pace is likely to come if he puts a second hand on there, and that tell just lets you be able to sit on it. That's why if you're a two-handed player and you don't dink with the two-hander, you are giving away the next shot if you put it on there.
Yep, even if it's only once in a while, you have to show the threat of something else, whether it's vice versa or that. I mean, speed some up, dink some. But there has to be some misdirection on it. Otherwise, the players are just too good with their counter punches.
Just wide there. So,
just wide.
Casey, we talk a lot about disguise being so important at the highest level here. What have you been able to take from volleyball maybe to bring into your pickleball that helped you maybe disguise something, or just a trait that's been effective for you transferring from one sport to the other?
Yeah, it's interesting because on the beach volleyball side, vision and manipulating, or let's say carving different sides of the ball is that's my superpower in a sense. And trying to bring that into this game where it's a lot of inside out or different tempo and speeds from awkward positions to create maybe a pop-up. That's been something I've tried to implement and bring over to the pickleball world that I do really well on the beach side.
And when you say carve the ball, does that mean hitting the right and left part of the ball? Because we have that in pickleball. We just use it by a different name. So fading or hooking the ball to get the ball to move in a given direction. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. But is that what you mean when you say carve the ball in volleyball?
Right. Inside out, outside in, over the top, backspin, all different types of things, simulate maybe a left-hander's type of spin sometimes just to throw them off. Things like that, yeah. I got to learn the new phrases. Thank you.
We're okay with carving. We just want to make sure we're all talking about the same turkey there.
Right.
Indeed.
Exactly.
And that's something not a lot of players learn later on. So especially when you get to a higher level, people think power and punching with the most speed is often the path of least resistance, when if you can add a little bit of misdirection in the sense that you're hitting the side of the ball, getting it to hook or fade to one direction, it puts the ball in just the right spot to where you took a little pace off, but they weren't expecting it there, and that's what really sets up the finish in the end.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So it is, again, Pat Smith and Callan Dawson looking good here in game number 2. All right, welcome back to the Skechers Invitational at the Riviera Country Club. Dave Fleming with pickleball star Colin Johnson, volleyball star Casey Patterson. We're carving up turkeys, we're shuttlecocks, we got science experiments, we got everything for you guys today, and that's why I love bringing people in here to give you a different perspective of what is going on here. And it has been Dawson and Pat Smith able to make a big comeback here. Now they're just 2 points from taking this second match of the day.
And more aggressive play there by Spencer. He doesn't attack a whole lot. He's a little bit more passive, but very consistent. Plays the right shot at the right time. But I feel like he's not kept Callan off balance quite as much as he needs to in some of these scenarios, especially when they have a little bit of the upper hand.
Second serve.
So is letting the ball go a big deal in volleyball too?
It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So frustrating when you hit an out ball, isn't it?
It's so frustrating. Also on D, when you get lined in, you're dialed in, you see the guy just kind of unload and you're stoked to make the dig, and you should have let it go out, but you're like, oh, I'm here, I'm just going to make it happen so that I can counter and get in their face and yell after I side out. So it's hard. It's the same thing here. I want to just smash everything. I don't care it's out. I'm going to hammer it, you know? It is. It's very technical, and it's something you have to train.
Yeah, and I felt like once I got enough experience at letting the ball go before they even hit it was when I really hit a threshold for letting a lot more outballs go in pickleball. Because the thing is, the geometry of the court, I mean, the net is quite high relative to the length. So as soon as you have them hitting up from below the level of the net hard, it's very likely to go out. So a lot of it is determining, all right, how much did I get my counterpunch down? Okay, they're taking a big swing at the ball. Chances are this is going to go out. And a lot of times they're not even trying to keep it in. They're just trying to put it in your chest. So if you're moving ahead of time, it's a lot easier to get out of the way.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing to do is when you do see it to let it go versus want to counter hard.
Yes. Nice combo there by AJ. And the thing you have to remember too is you're going to win 100% of the points that you let go and they go out, and you might win 80% of the ones that you feel good about the counterpunch. But I want that extra 20%. So it might feel better to hit a counterpunch winner, but I'd much rather let it go and win all of them.
Yeah, you want SportsCenter highlights, or you want to just freaking win?
Yeah.
And speaking of which, a good call there by AJ Koller. And that's another thing. A lot of times you have a better vantage point than your partner, and if you just say something just in time, it can get them out of the way on balls like that.
So able to keep them at 9, but unable to capitalize on the first serve. See what AJ can do here.
I do like how the points are playing for them in the last couple minutes a little bit better. It seems like they're being a little bit more patient. Of course, I jinxed it.
And then we went Lob Factory 2022.
Yep. You got to know with AJ that's coming. But I was about to say that it looked like they were playing a little bit more by the book, getting into the line, giving themselves a chance. Oh, and missed serve. Definitely not something you see a lot from Callan Dawson.
No.
There we go, Pat. Being a good partner. Letting them know we're good. Just a little high five.
And a quick side out with no work to be done. Have to hit one return for a side out. That is good living right there.
Oh, yeah. That's Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year right there.
Colin, a lot of people talk about the style of dinking that Callan Dawson does with the short hop like that one right there. What's the advantage of that?
So the advantage of that, and what you mean by short hop, first of all, is he's taking the ball basically directly after the bounce. So he's making contact with it very low, but it takes a lot of the timing out of the shot. So you're going to be very consistent at timing it, and you can keep it short quite well. The problem with it, the disadvantage of it, is you're making contact with the ball so low. So the net is going to appear higher. So if you think about hitting the ball over a mountain versus a molehill, the net really behaves more like a mountain than a molehill. And whereas if you let the ball come up, you can hit it more linearly and do more damage with it. So what he tends to do is he hovers over the line and takes the ball out in front. It's very hard to get him to miss because you can't really mess up his timing very well. But at the same time, his dinks are always soft and they're in front of you. So it's definitely a shot you want in the arsenal. But in my mind, I think it's important to hit some offensive dinks when it's more called for. And it makes him just a little bit one-dimensional. And that's why you'll see him lob from that same position. That's how he creates offense. Or you'll hit that double clutch attack like he just did.
Spencer doing his thing again. Look at that. He's so good at seeing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you do not get extra points for hitting the Selkirk sign on the net there, so still at 9.
Similar in our game, if you take, like, let's say short hop, which would be like, you know, a quick attack, my hand's on the ball a shorter amount of time, so I can't create as much with it. So that those short hops are tough to control because you have just such a quick amount of time where you've got to really commit to what you have immediately, versus if I can kind of like back up and roll it or inside out and create some stress for the other team.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Very
Match
similar
point.
pickleball.
Oh.
And the backhand overhead was thwarted, and it is Pat winning the Smith battle over Spencer with a great assist from Callan Dawson. So Pat Smith and Callan Dawson really solid, sort of, you know, back to put a bow on this, the narrative they wanted is the point construction for the most part favored the way they like to play, and that's the way the scoreboard looked as well. So it is the Skechers Invitational here at the Riviera Country Club. We'll be back with the next match after this.
Welcome back, everyone, to Center Court. I've got Pat Smith, Callan Dawson here with me. Guys, you played really smart, solid pickleball on your side of the court. Did you discuss this matchup beforehand?
Not really that much. I mean, we just played our game. I was trying to not be too stupid, which I'm prone to, and Callan just did his thing. I mean, he's so good and so solid with his hands and everything, and so patient with his dinks, and obviously the lobs. So, yeah, hats off to him.
Well, Callan, we've seen you coming back for the second half of the season playing just incredible pickleball last weekend, already this weekend doing the same thing. What's your secret?
I mean, really no secret. All these players are super good. Both these guys we just played now, Spencer and AJ, both have unreal hands, so can't really take too many chances. So I just kind of believe in just moving the dinks around, being patient, trying not to hit the same spot too many times, and just wait as long as possible for the right shot to attack.
Anything to do with that brand new paddle you've got?
I want to say no, but I think it's the paddle. It's not me. I don't know.
No, never. Patrick, you've got somebody really special in the audience. In fact, 2 people. Who are they?
My parents are here from Germany, so hadn't seen them in like 5 years. So it's pretty special for them to be here and watch me for the first time live, not on YouTube or Facebook.
Absolutely. Welcome to America. Guys, thanks. We'll take it back to the court now.